Welcome to Camp Okayist. I'm your host, Shawn, of course, Camp Okayist, powered by X2 Power. Of course, X2 batteries available at your local Batteries Plus store. Very fun show today. We mentioned X2 Power. We've actually got someone who works with Battery Plus and very knowledgeable about X2 Power on the show with us this week. Shawn Budiac, who I've known for, what, year, 2 years?
Yeah, a little bit year and a half ago, maybe.
Like that. I know we had a conversation before on a previous show that I did, but I know there's a lot of changes and a lot of evolutions about, and I get this isn't 2016, right? When this whole technology of like lithium ion, this and that, it's coming out, and there was like people. I remember the biggest thing I remember. This is like the sad part about the technology, which is phenomenal. Was I remember like when it first came out, the first thing everyone heard about it was like batteries exploding on airplanes. Right? Like, remember that? Like, everyone was like panicking, like, oh, you can't bring a battery.
That was the days of, some phone companies had some problems with, bad videos posted of events and whatnot. But that was the early parts. It's all been completely changed and is weirdly becoming commonplace.
And that's just it, especially in the outdoors world, whether it's fishing, RVs. I mean, like when I say fishing, I mean boats, and I'm talking not just like fishing boats. I'm talking any sort of water vessels. You've got any kind of ATV, side by sides. I mentioned RVs. There's even like golf carts. There's camping situations. In fact, I'll get to that a little later on because it's actually a really cool product that X2 just dropped and came out with that I think is just, a game changer for a lot of people in the outdoor space, no matter what you do. But just a quick little recap. Let's introduce yourself so everyone gets to meet Shawn, who's hanging out at camp with us today.
So, Shawn Budiac, I've been running the X2 Power, we'll call it the X2 Power brand campaign, if you will, now for, it's been about 4 years, a little over 3 years. And it's amazing to look back. We started with this thing. We've had an amazing product sold at Batteries Plus stores for a long time in our AGM product. And we saw where this whole place was going. We saw the demand from the angler that, wanted something with more power. Saw it early and started building that brand, using just great partnerships we've had along the years. And obviously today that's transitioned into this huge lithium craze, this, the battery that everyone wants. Maybe everyone doesn't always need it, but everyone wants it. And every single day it's getting crazier and crazier what people put in to their RV camping, outdoor lifestyle, to their, the boat that they run on every single weekend on. We're proud to be a part of this brand for a long time and love what we're continuing to do. But, as you already alluded to, Shawn, are looking to expand into new areas, so that we're not just targeting, one or two, areas of the outdoor industry.
Right. And typically, a lot of times, like lead acid batteries, that was your most common battery used in literally everything. Like, what would you say is the main difference between your standard lead acid, like we typically know of, like you mentioned the AGM battery, or a lithium ion powered battery?
Yeah. For the applications that they're being put in, I think the biggest thing that is happening today, and I'm sure I'll have a couple of stories for you of what we're doing, what we're kind of seeing with our anglers, on the Elite Series and stuff. What we're seeing today is the battery's the battery, but it is absolutely, you would never think that so many electronics could be brought into the outdoor industry into one space that, 6 years ago would allow all that electronics to work perfectly fine. And now you look at it and you go, not only does the lithium technology need to hit and power need to rise, you might be looking at different configurations that you need to run everything. So I think when you look at it, what's the big difference? That our blue top, we call it blue top, our blue top AGM, that's all I got in my boat. I don't, have lithium running, but I'm also not running 5 or 6 drafts. It's a workhorse. And our AGM is not your typical big box store AGM that, you charge up to 100% and get to use about 60% of it before it's dead. Ours will still use about 80, 85 just because it's a specially designed product. But the world of lithium, it's like that entire box of power you get to use, until it unfortunately dies on you real quick. Just like everyone's power drills these days, they die on you with no warning. But
right, yeah, it's full power.
Yeah, full power, and then you're up on a ladder somewhere and it's dead. It's full power. It's just harnessing the same space, bringing 20-30% more capable power to it, just to power all the demands that we have now, and what is still a great outdoor lifestyle, but very much one that's driven and led by a lot of great electronics.
So would you say that the fact that it just can die right away, would you say that's kind of one of those disadvantages of the technology?
100%. Now we're thwarting that, right? So you can see, the old battery you would buy from wherever you're buying from, it would die whenever it died when you're out on the water, no warning. Now we're thwarting a little bit of that. It's going to die at any point in time with access to seeing every single detail of those batteries. So we now have an X2 Power app where any of your lithium, you could pull up at any given time. You could see the capacity. You could see how many amps are going into the battery, if it's being discharged, how many amps are going out of the battery. So it's a disadvantage, but it's one that if you're paying attention, doesn't have to be one.
Okay, that's a good answer and a good way to look about it. When I think about applications for batteries that we need, it's literally everything in our life, like down to this thing that we carry everywhere, our phone. This has a battery, has to be powered. Have you guys thought about, is there anything of doing like mobile, like there's cell phone chargers, right? Like there's a battery packs. Is X2 thinking about doing anything along those lines to be in that space as far as the smaller battery, but helping out people that are camping, hiking, things like that? And I'm not saying like you have to give out information that's like top secret or like you shouldn't spill, but like, I mean, I'm just thinking that's like a really common where it's not even outdoors, like legitimately anyone at any time would benefit from having a product like that.
Yeah, so I'll say we lean in on there's enough space in the demand for a lot of power that we're going to continuously lean in on. That portable power, little 10,000 milliamp hour bank that'll get your phone charged 3 or 4 times before it's dead. We definitely have those in our Batteries Plus stores. When it comes to X2, we're keeping this brand tied to, you call it like, what is the ultimate power I can produce that will drive my lifestyle rather than quickly recover my necessity, right? So we've got a version of, I'll give you an example of a version of that. So, we've got, anywhere from a 12 volt, 12 amp hour small battery. I've got a 1220 that I put in my kayak just to power some stuff, all the way up to 125 amp hour Group 31 boat battery that, believe it or not, I've got an angler I was just talking to that's fishing today that runs 2 of those in parallel because that's how much power he wants and needs.
How many graphs are on his boat?
7.
There we go. Yep.
And live in the front and live in the back. So yep, he's drawn. When he told me he needed 2 of those, I'm like, you're absolutely nuts. And then he described everything that's going on, 16-inch monitors. We've gone and done the 24 volts and the 36 volts, but all that product is, anglers, RV campers type of deal. We wanted also to bring all that power to just the on-the-go world. So our version of your question, the cell phone charger and whatnot, is more about different size portable power units. So I've got we call an X2-300 that just got released 25 days ago.
That's the product I was alluding to. That's so cool.
Item is outstanding. Like the small little portable, throw it in your purse or in a glove compartment type of deal. But it is a little workhorse that you can pick up with one hand, bring camping with you, or just have in the back of the truck, as rather than plug into my vehicle and turn the key on, I'm going to plug into this thing and charge my phone or charge my laptop out in the field. It's no bigger than, the laptop screen I'm looking at a little bit, and 2 outlets, 4 USBs, anything you could have to run your day-to-day life, whether it would be outdoors or it might be as simple as, Shawn, if you wanted to do this podcast from your back porch and you wanted to make sure you had enough power without running extension cords, you put that right next to your laptop and you're good to go.
You know what? I've done shows from the back of my truck and had to leave my truck running with the
Exactly.
extension cord plugged in the truck. It would be nice to not have wasted all that fuel.
I always give the example of we've been now last year going to Milwaukee Brewer game, having a 2-hour tailgate, having the truck on the entire time for music and all that
Yep.
stuff, and getting literally we got back to the car at the end of the night and it wouldn't turn. And
Oh
you're like,
no!
all right, 2 hours of music was great. Not being able to start your car. Thank goodness a friend was still in the parking lot and jumped us. But
You're a battery guy.
These little X2 300s, 600s, that's all I would have needed to plug a speaker into, or to recharge a Bluetooth speaker without sacrificing the power that's needed elsewhere.
So is that a 300 amp hour and a 600 amp hour? Is that how
we have a 300 amp hour? Yep, 300 amp hour, 600 amp hour, and right over my shoulder here is our 1500 amp hour, 1500 watt. Really, it's huge. So now this one is more of, obviously someone's not going to throw it in their backpack while they're camping and hiking the Appalachian Trail. This one's more of, all right, I know where I'm going to need it. I'm going to have it, and I want to put a power box there that everyone at the camp can charge their phones without ever recharging it. Or I'm going to hook up my Traeger grill to it, with a solar panel, while I'm off gridding for a couple of weeks. That's what that is. That would also, I almost ran here and grabbed it when we lost power this winter for 48 hours just to plug in my furnace, at the home to spark that ignition. That's the type of power that is. That's not necessarily for everyone, but that 300 to 600 is, it's that power device no one knew they needed until they see it and go, wow, that's pretty darn convenient.
I'm thinking construction site. I'm seeing use of that at construction site.
Again,
recharging your other lithium batteries that you got to put into your drills or saws or stuff like that. That would be a really handy thing. So, like
when you've got no electricity, you just have your things getting charged. Some of those will do, depending upon the model. They'll call it like a 1500 watt, but at any moment it can deliver twice that wattage. So if you're in dire straits and you're building a tree stand somewhere without electricity, grab that, plug a circ saw into it, and you're probably going to be good depending upon the model. So it's just cool on-the-go power that, let's just extend the success we're having in boats and in campers and RVs and motorcycles and see where else we can bring power to people's lives.
What is the number one, enemy of batteries like that, like lithium-ion batteries, any of the X2? Is it like a range on heating, too hot for it, and it's not good, or too cold? I know, because that was always the big concern with, I'm thinking about people that are ice fishing, right? You had the 12 volts, whatever, 7 amp hour, those giant bricks essentially that were powering your flashers and stuff. And sometimes when it gets so cold, it's like the amount of juice you have on it runs out much faster. They're not as useful.
You're spot on. We always last winter we did a shoot with Tom Kimos, who's a local Wisconsin walleye angler that has Next Bite, and brought in Justin Hamner, who is our Bassmaster. He just won the Bassmaster Classic. We brought him on the ice from Alabama and did a shoot, and a lot of that was those batteries, in that ice fishing, setting. In that case, we had Garmin Live systems set up and whatnot. It is the enemy, but it's an enemy that you can, if you're smart, you can be controlled. I always give the example of, if it's super cold, I ain't sitting out there on the 5-gallon bucket jigging. I'm going to go be sitting in my, big shanty or whatnot that's got some type of furnace going, and actually in there it's 40 or 50 degrees. So the reality is, yes, if you're going to go sit out there and brave the temperatures at -7, in open air with no heat source, those aren't going to last as long as the seal lead acid products are. But honestly, we look at it and go, that's kind of an edge case. If you really think about it. So, we honestly haven't taken steps like there are some brands that have put heaters inside their batteries to keep that internal battery warm and make it last longer.
Doesn't that draw off of your normal power?
100%. That's why we didn't do it. We just say, what, for that edge case, I'd rather tell someone go put some insulation around that, or get that in that Garmin unit that's got it's got a naturally insulated jacket around it type of deal, and you're going to be fine. You're not going to see the issues. Than to try to draw out of that product when 99% of the time no one wants it to be drawn out of that product.
This is Campo Chaos talking with Shawn Budiac of X2 Power, talking about lithium power technology and whatnot. You did mention, when you're talking about you guys really kind of started breaking into things with anglers, and you'd mentioned your previous Bassmaster Classic. How does it feel to be the battery company that's providing the power for the past two Bassmaster Classic champions?
And two, and then I'll take the third. We had Drew Gregory won the kayak at the kayak contest at the Classic and championship at the Classic, and he's running X2, where whenever he's using power like that. So no, it feels awesome. Honestly, last year I was there. We have tied to the Classic is a big show, 100-something thousand people walking through. So we love being there. I was unfortunately not able to go this year to see Justin do the weigh-in at the end. I had other commitments, but last year, sitting on the edge of our seats watching Gussie at the very last moment, win by, what he won by was awesome. It just feels so cool to see it. You go back and you go, heck, 4 years ago, we just entered into this space, and we just happened to get ourselves connected with some really great anglers. We just had, not only did we have this year Hamner win the Classic, the next week John Garrett won. He's on our team. This week is John's fishing right now with the top 10, as well as with JT, who are also X2 anglers. So we got ourselves we got a powerful team, which is really cool to see. And it's really, for the brand and for the consumer that's following, professional angling. I love seeing, Hamner on television at the Classic with the X2 Power right across his chest. It's pretty awesome.
No, that is some cool stuff. So as far as the outdoors goes, what is your forte? What is your favorite thing? I know you mentioned you've got a boat. Do you spend a lot of time fishing, Shawn, or is there other things in the outdoors that are kind of your forte?
No, our life is pretty much, I've got a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old. So we're now, this week is band concert in the evening and baseball game 1, baseball game 2, baseball game 3. So we're, our life in between sports is on the lake. Okay, so we're not camping. We're not doing any of that stuff. It's, jump in the boat and take the kids fishing. My wife loves it when her and I are the only ones on the water and the kids are, home, and it's kind of like date night on the lake type of deal. Now we've just started. Last year was actually my first year really getting a real good kayak, getting it set up where, I can run out at, 5 a.m. on a Saturday, no sounds, no boats, no nothing, and just the tranquility of fishing in small spots that are hard to get to even just the big water that's, not disturbed by, all the typical weekend traffic. Our life's been, and definitely where it's going. So our kids are now old enough to want to do it. Any minute we can. We're not at sports. I want us to be out on the water day in and day out.
Oh, I absolutely love it. That's like, to me, like, that's the essence of everything. I know, like in my family, we do like to do a lot of my little guy, he's like 6 and he wants his own kayak now because dad's in the kayak. He's not able to like paddle. And I'm like, well, you're still too small even to get you to, a pedal drive. So I'm like, we're going to hold off it. But he does go with me on the back of my kayak from time to time. And we're going to take up this summer, one of the newest ones. We're going to start doing some snorkeling because he loves like swimming and he loves like being underwater. I've never seen a kid that's like 5, 6 that loves like eyes wide open in a chlorinated pool. Like, it's great. Kids are crazy, but I'm like, oh, so, do you want to do some of that stuff? And I've done snorkeling, in the Caribbean, all over the place. And so he wants to do it. So I'm like, okay, so we can, take my kayak out, strip down bare bones and just pedal out somewhere and,
Awesome.
go and play around. And I love to hear that families are that way because I think it is so like easy to get caught up in that rat race, especially like you said, when you've got kids that are the age that are, playing all the sports where it's like you just run to everything. By the time you get done, you're just like, I just want to sit here and do nothing.
Everyone's just sitting doing nothing or sitting on their phones. So no, we're super excited for the summer. I've been terrible. My boat's sitting in my driveway right now. You still need a new prop on it before I get it in the water, but we'll get in the water. We'll get going on it. And, in a world where everyone's got devices and stuff to look at all times, I'd rather have my kids out on the water doing some pretty awesome stuff. That's where you create memories, is that snorkeling out on the water. It's taken, you're sent out to a small little lake and fishing. Those are what people remember.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure we're creating those day in, day out with our kids.
Yeah, you mentioned not getting the boat going. I don't think you're alone because anyone in the upper Midwest, I feel we've had the weirdest year, like the weirdest, like I refer to it as, especially here in southeastern Wisconsin, where I am, and I know that you're similar in the same area. I feel like we had all of winter in 2 weeks. Like we had this weird like okay, so it's,
Yep.
there was fall, there was like that Halloween time, and then it got cold and we had a little snow like immediately after Halloween, and then it was just like cold, and then we got to be January, and then we had like snowmageddon of all a whole winter's worth of snow in a week, and then the next week it was it was like we are from none of it in Canada, and then suddenly we just been living in purgatory. So like there's that, but it's never been like warm enough for everyone to be like get in that mode of like I want to get my boat out and start getting things ready, because you're always like, and when's it gonna snow again, or when's it gonna get cold again?
Yep. Yeah, this weekend would have been awesome to get out with how warm it was. My kids can't connect the 80 something degree weather or 70s degree weather with still really cold lake water. So
Yes.
we'll get out.
I mean, the lake water in most places is anywhere from, I mean, I think the coldest I've been on was like 47 up in the Door Peninsula a couple of weeks ago, and then like the warmest I've found is like 60. So you're somewhere in that range.
Yeah, but it's kind of right
borderline.
it's right about that mid 50s to 60s, and I'm like, you're not going to want to jump in, or you're going to jump in really quick and get the heck out of there, so fast. So we'll get out of the water. It's coming.
It's funny, say that, like, me being a kayak guy that I'm as well, a lot of times, like, even if I like back down and launch my kayak off the back of my truck, I still, when I go to like get in, sometimes like I'll just have to walk in the water a couple steps and then jump my kayak. There's like people at the ramps a couple weeks ago in there, and like the water temperature was like 50 degrees. They're like looking like, wait, you're standing in the water? Isn't that cold?
Nuts.
I'm gonna get in. My pants are gonna dry off in about 30 seconds. It's fine. The air temperature's almost 70. Like we're good. But yeah, swimming, I'm gonna go hard pass on that.
Yeah, as long as that air temperature is fine.
Yeah. All right. So back to lithium ion technology and stuff. A question that's come up when it comes to charging, and like when you look at the packaging, a lot of these, like they'll say, all the info, like 12 volts, so many amp hour, then it'll have so many like charges and starts or what, like that. To me, is that truthful? Of that you can have like, if it says like 20,000 cycles, does that mean 20,000 times that you can have that power device drained down to zero and then powered back up to 100%?
Correct. Now it's usually you're making the numbers, you're sharing the numbers in a way that is understanding what real life is. Generally, like the worst thing you could actually do with lithium is run it all the way down, because a computer system inside kicks in and says it's too low a voltage. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm just going to shut myself down. And then you got to follow, you'll open up every book with every battery you get that says how to reawaken that battery. But most, if you think about how you use your batteries day in and day out, most of the time you're probably not dipping below 50, 60% of that power that you charged it up to, and then charging it the next day. Obviously, I'm a battery geek, and I still go multiple days without charging my boat batteries and cross my fingers that my trolling motor is going to work the whole day. So I'm probably like every human being that does that. I can charge tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, when you think about lithium, that it can be that long, and it's not going to be like old lead acid where, yes, you could get a ton of charges, but I kind of described that every time you charge and recharge, a little bit of that gas tank gets filled, and you're no longer filling a full tank at 100%. You're filling it to 80% and then 78%. Over time, the life of that battery per use goes down. Lithium doesn't have that, much or that big of a drop, if you will. So it's pretty crazy. That's why they're on these things. And if you do the math of how many times you have to use it over 10 years, you'd be fishing 365.
Man, that's crazy. Now, as far as charging goes, is there like, do they charge faster lithium? Because I feel like sometimes a lot of those AGM batteries, it's like you got to hook them up, and I feel like they have to sit on the charger like overnight or for the longest time before they actually get fully charged.
So here's a couple things that are, I've experienced talking with even our professional anglers. They're not all of our anglers are the world's, best at wiring their boats and whatnot. So they're facing some of the same issues we all do. You can charge these things really fast. If theoretically, if you had a 50 amp charger, you don't get those at, many places. But if you had a 50 amp charger, you could charge that 100 amp hour battery from dead in 2 hours. It can take that fast of a charge. But what's unfortunately happens, we'll get a lot of people that go and say, yeah, I just bought 3 lithium batteries for my, I got a 24-volt trolling motor and I want a dedicated house battery in my boat. And then they won't change the charger in their boat. So they'll end up having yes, it charged it, but it's putting 3 amps into that battery that could take 50 amps. So it's just math. If you need 30 amps of power at 3 amps, it's going to take you 10 hours to charge it. When we're making the investment in the power, and you're only making it because you've already invested in everything else in your camper, your RV that needs that power, if you don't tie the charger right, you'll never get the experience that you could have. If you can get a 15 or a 20 amp hour charger on lithium, 100% do it all day. Because then if you do drain it down to nothing, you're going out the next morning, you're not waking up wondering how full your battery is. It's full. So if there's constant advice I give to people is don't just look at the battery, just like you're not only looking at the trolling motor. It's a trolling motor plus the battery plus the charger. It's a system that all needs to work together, or else you'll never be happy with that. Ultimately, what is a pretty decent investment in those batteries to run what you love doing every single weekend.
Awesome. As far as those go, is it a specific like dedicated special charger that's needed for those?
Yeah, you have to make sure you're doing one that's lithium capable. And then the lithium like we just launched this year an X2 Power line of onboard chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And that line of onboard chargers not only charges AGM, also charges lithium, but it will on each independent line feature a waken mode, or a bring it back to life mode if it does go to sleep on you. So getting that right charger investment, if it's a super cheap charger on the internet, odds are it's not going to charge lithium very well. So find the right charger, find the right system, to make sure that investment's useful.
All right, that is definitely good stuff. Good stuff to know. What do you got planned coming up here as far as in the outdoors? You mentioned just going out in the boat. Is that it, or you got any trips or anything planned up?
We'll end up doing my wife and I are doing a couple trips this year. We've got usually we always do a June trip right around Father's Day we're about 45 minutes north of Minocqua, so straight north Wisconsin, almost to the UP. That we've got family cottage. You're one of 2 boats on an 800-acre lake, all week long type of deal. Can't do it June because we get to go to Blaine, Minnesota for a soccer tournament.
Ooh.
So we're kicking that down to August. So actually, my kids are excited. I go up in June because I love the fishing up there for bass in June when the water's still a little cold. They hate it. They can't go do their water sports.
Yep.
So come August, it'll now be a mix of fishing meets wakeboarding and all that stuff. But that's the big one we're looking forward to this summer.
As far as fishing goes, are you a bass person, or what's your preferred go-to species?
I'm a dad, so there's two different versions of that. When I'm out by myself, 100% pure bass. When I'm with my kids or with my wife, I got to know my audience. So we'll do a little bass fishing. I'll have my son will throw artificial for a little bit, but you got to give them time to throw, a jig and a worm for some bluegills just to keep their attention going and make them want to stay out there. So, if it's by myself, it's bass and only bass that I'm going after. If it's with my family, it's let's get whatever's biting in the boat so they're happy and they're excited and they want to stay for a few extra hours. I'll always be fishing artificials out of the front of the boat, but for them, I'll put them on fish.
That's what you got to be with kids. Like you have to provide the opportunity to catch the fish. Otherwise, kids get bored. I mean, I remember being a kid too, going out. It's not as fun and exciting for kids. You gotta catch fish, and sometimes catching numbers is a good thing. And then you reach the level where I am. Like literally the other day, someone had asked me because I was going out doing some practice for a tournament I got coming up, and they were like, "Oh, did you find anything?" And I was like, "Not really." Like, did you catch them? Yeah, I caught a bunch. It's small. It's not what I'm looking for. Like, I'm not catching to catch numbers. I'm catching to catch big ones. Like that's the name. If I want to catch numbers, we can go do that all day.
Yeah, you gotta. There'll be a transition. Yeah, there'll be a transition with my kids. Once my son Corbin, I'm sure will get to a point where he wants to go try to catch the big bass or the big walleye. But for right now, like my job as a dad is to keep him engaged in its outdoor activities where he loves it, and wants to get deeper and deeper into it. Really has no no interest in fishing right now, but she told me she wants to go deer hunting this year. So I'm like, all right, I'll feed that,
Wow.
that outdoor piece of it. Yeah. Out of the blue.
And
And
that's
it
really,
wasn't just one
yeah,
day. It was 2 different days. It's awesome.
huh, like, there's no, like, catalyst to that you could see from, like, friends, other family,
Nope.
anything?
Nope. Not that I can see at all. I mean, she's got a couple friends now that have, other girlfriends that have gone out with their dad. So I think there's part of she's seeing that. Um, yeah. And I just don't know. It came out of the blue one day and I'm like, are you serious? She's
That's
out.
so
All
awesome.
right.
I love to see that stuff. I love to see, and I even hate that we have to separate of like women in the outdoors because like we're all just humans, we're all just people,
Yep.
right? Like at the end of the day. But for some reason, like generationally, for so long, I felt like it became that the outdoors is just a place for the boys. You know what I mean? So that's why I love so much seeing women and positive women role models in the outdoor space. I mean, the first person to look at all the time, Christine Fisher. I absolutely
Yep.
love what she's done for fishing, for kayak fishing, and just, not just being a great woman angler, being an amazing angler and being an amazing human being. And providing the opportunity to be that role model is so other people, other girls essentially,
Yeah.
can see that and be like, well, yeah, I can do that too. That's not just for the boys. Like, I absolutely love it because we all should get out and enjoy that. And if we can do it together as families. And I love it. So the fact that your daughter, like, that is so cool. You typically would not think that a, young girl would be like, oh, I want to go hunting. Like the boy, like, but fishing you'd
Yep.
see more common, I think, for girls. But hunting that's different. Like, I know my wife, she loves shooting a bow, but she's like, I just don't know if I want to hunt. But the more she shot, she's starting to come around. It's like, maybe I could see like bow hunting because it would be nice to like, sit in the silence of the woods. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you're a parent and we've got a 6-year-old. You're enjoying any bit of
Yep.
silence.
Just
Why do you think I like going
Yep.
so much? Love my child, love everything, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's nice to just sit in the darkness and have nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to get both kids involved too. And we just bought just a 20 gauge used shotgun, thinking, not bird hunting or anything like that. Get up at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, whatever. That's not for them. But even just something as going and shooting clays, and just something that's get outside, find something that maybe is intimidating to you and give it a try because it's really not that intimidating. And that could lead to some pretty cool, father son,
I
father
love
daughter
it. Yes.
moments. So I'm going to keep trying anything we can do to get them
Shooting
outside,
sporting
basically.
clays is one of those things that I think people just lump into it like it has to do with a hunting thing, and it's not. Like, I used to shoot. I used to like shoot tons of tournaments and competitively in leagues and all that stuff. And I always describe to people shooting. So sporting clays and trap are two different things. Don't know, trap is kind of the, you stand one place, the shot, it's kind of the same shot over and over again. You have multiple shots. Where sporting clays, you go from station to station and there's different shots. And then you have some that are, report pair versus true pair, where report pair would be as soon as you squeeze the trigger, boom, the next clay gets fired from wherever, whereas true are both fired at the same time. Just wanted to quickly, if
Yep.
anyone does not know what sporting clays, that's what, but to me, it's like golf. I've always described it like golf. And I'm like, if you can like golf, how could you not like sporting clays? You don't have to love the outdoors or love hunting or anything. It's just it's a fun sport where again you're going from station to station, hole to hole, you know,
Yep.
accumulating points, making shots. It's to me the best equivalent I can give is it's like golf, and I feel like anyone can do that. I had a girlfriend in high school. She used to shoot sporting clays with me all the time. Never had anything hunted, nothing,
I,
but just loved to shoot sporting clays because it was that. It was something fun. And it was an activity, and it's a sport.
yeah. And I see it more once the 12 and 13-year-old, get over the idea that they're holding a gun and shooting a gun, which is, for them at that point, intimidating. It'll be, station one will be done and they'll be wanting station two, station three, station four. So just anything we can do to get them outside, get them loving nature, get them love the outdoors, and almost, doing exactly what she did, asking to go hunting, asking to go do these types of things versus me dragging them out the
Oh,
door.
that is so cool. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're a busy guy. Got a lot of stuff going on. The growth has been amazing to see what's happened with X2 Power. Glad to, be a part of X2 Power with this, powering everything. The product is great. And what I love best about it, because there's tons of places, like you can jump on Amazon and buy a cheap, crappy lithium battery. Like you can do it anywhere.
all over.
But the fact that you have access to go acquire a battery and have knowledgeable people there that can help you with it at a Batteries Plus store, I think is key, because you don't have that just jumping online. You don't have that connection of person to person that I think can be key in a technology that, again, while we said it's not new, like it's far from new, but to a lot of people, I think it is still kind of new because of the way that the technology around it has changed.
Yeah, I'd say, if you were to ask, if anyone were to ask, what's the difference between us and all these other brands? There is, the blue batteries with the red top brand that's out there. All these other big brands, it is our stores. Yeah, I was in a store and watched an individual pull up with the boat behind their truck, and they just came in and said, something's just not working. My wiring's not working. I'm not sure if it's my batteries. That employee went out there. They pulled the tarp off it, and they spent 15 minutes just checking every wire, checking every connection, and they didn't even need new batteries. We just helped them figure out their problem. So I think as you look at with X2, having a local place where you can go buy is one thing. Having a place where you can go back to them if you got a problem or something's not working, or if you bought lithium and it went to sleep on you and you just don't want to read the manual and figure it out, you can bring it into our store. We'll help you get that back up and going. Make sure you have the right jump pack, in your boat tomorrow to make sure it never happens again. So I think that is truly key. And you and I are both here in Southeast Wisconsin. Batteries Plus is headquartered. I'm sitting at our headquarters right now in Southeast Wisconsin. 700 plus stores around the country. We're here. Yeah, if there's ever problems, to be quite honest, we had an angler in a tournament a couple tournaments ago that his battery, some reason, wasn't charging in his boat. That local franchisee put a battery in his car, ran it out to him, and helped him out, which obviously we're going to try to figure out any way we can help those guys. But it shows the power of having, the stores locally, the small business owners locally that are running those stores, here for, whatever your outdoor lifestyle is.
Well, and it's just so much easier to work with someone face to face than it is like over a phone. And trying to troubleshoot or get help that way. It is nice, like you said, to just be able to roll up to a store and have that. So that I think is what's really cool. One more thing that I did just want to touch on, because I saw like ads pop up. Yay, social media does a great thing of trying to sell you stuff all the time. Another product that y'all have that I think is brilliant is that portable air compressor that I think is about the size of my iPhone 13 here.
It is.
And you can keep that in your car to inflate tires. I could even see uses of inflating basket, whatever. But that's a really cool, like, whoever thought of that, brilliant. That is so smart. So smart. Because like, I remember back in the day, like, you always carried one of those in your vehicle. It was like in your trunk or the back of your truck, whatever. You plugged in the cigarette lighter. It was the big loud, they're giant. They're big things. This is literally the tiniest device.
It does this very simple things like set the PSI for your tire, hit go, and it automatically shuts off, when it hits that PSI. It's a compact technology that would only be able to happen with lithium. You would never be able to have the old seal lead acid ones that still weighed 60 pounds that you pulled up to your boat or your tire. We have one in my garage. Obviously, I've also got one in the boat because it helps I can blow up the tube for the kids and some plug it into a cigarette lighter type of thing. So it's awesome.
Could you use that with like stand-up paddle boards, the inflatable stand-up paddle boards?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dang, brilliant.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's got all the different connections and whatnot, and a lot of those paddle boards will have a certain PSI you got to hit, type of deal. Yeah,
that's just it. My wife's got one, and that's just it. It'd be so nice. You just set it and let it go, and it just stays at that PSI, so you don't have to like.
I fill up all my kids' soccer balls. That's the best.
Awesome.
Like I love it. In the middle of winter in Wisconsin, I hate going outside and pumping up tires in the cold. Put it on the PSI, go back inside, come back out later, and it's automatically turned itself off. It's an awesome item.
That is so cool. So whether it's that, the mobile power bank, any power needs, X2 power, you can find them at Batteries Plus. What'd you say it was 700 some stores across the country?
Yep, right about 700 right now.
Well, absolutely love it. Well, Shawn Budiac, thanks so much for joining us this week at camp.
Thank
We
you for having
appreciate
me.
it. Absolutely. We'll chat more in the future. Be on the lookout. I know next week on the show we are going to talk to someone who just finished an amazing feat of getting the Grand Slam turkey hunting. And if you're not familiar with that is, it's going to be fun. A really great show talking with, in fact, actually one of the hosts of one of the okayest podcast network shows, turkey season. So look forward to that. We're going to catch you next week right here at camp